Welcome back, everybody, to Terminal 234. It's Faye on the mic with...
Dolapo, what's up?
Nothing much. Look at you. You asked about me.
I didn't.
mean, maybe you weren't. You were just saying what's up to
What's up? It's
general
just it's a greeting, general greeting.
So, I guess I'm a little selfish. I expect everything to be about me. But no, I mean, I'm going to take it as me answering the question. Everything's good. Everything's all right. It's not as cold today as it's been lately, so I'm happy about that. That's it. How about you? What's up with you?
Not much. Very tired. Yeah.
You need to perk up a little bit.
Woo!
My level.
What's up, people?
I didn't
I'm
say
ready.
yell in our audience.
Terminal 234. We're ready to go. This is episode 12 of season 2.
That means like season 2 is winding down.
It is. Yeah. We're literally we're gonna be done.
A few episodes
in a minute.
out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's been good. It's been a good season.
I agree. I think season 3 will be even better.
Oh no, it will for sure.
But yeah. So far, so good. Yeah, you want to get into quick hits, though?
Quick hits, yes. Everyone is talking about T.I. And the comments he recently made on a podcast. I don't even know what podcast it is. But he was a guest at another podcast, and somehow the topic of his daughter came up or something like that, and his sex life. And his daughter's 18, by the way. And he basically said that he accompanies her to a gynecologist appointments, and I don't know if he says he sits in the room, but basically he said that he's right there and he gets notification.
He basically does hymen checks on her.
Yes.
Via her gyno. And I think it's a matter of, I don't know if you know this, but with girls, at a certain point, they ask if you wouldn't mind your parents knowing or being privy to information that they're sharing with you. I think he did get to the point where he can be in the room if they ask her questions like, are you sexually active and stuff like that, because she's kind of forced to say, yes, my dad can be here. The gross part about this to me is that along with this, a bunch of information about his relationships with his sons when it comes to sex was released. On his,
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, on his reality show with his family. I think he laughed off the idea of his son having sex at the age of 15. I think his son kind of told on himself or something like that. Unfortunately, I didn't see the clips. But either way, drastically different than the way he's treating his daughter and her sex life. So that's the grossest part to me. And also just violation of a woman's body. Sorry, I get it. She's 18. She's still young. She's your kid. You're looking out for her best interests. But there's ways to go about this without being so invasive and just gross all around. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think honestly it comes down to the point that you have to let people live. You have to, when you're raising kids, right? You do everything you can in the formative years to show them the way, right? To put in their mind the things that they should have. Because they have to make decisions themselves. So you don't really want her making that decision just off of the fact that, oh my God, he's going to check.
Right.
Because that just means that when she does decide to rebel, she's going to go off. You know what I mean? You're repressing her. That's the thing. You don't want her to ever feel repressed. And most people in that kind of situation would feel repressed in 2019. Even before 2019. And now in 2019, you don't have to, literally everywhere you go, you're being told, you don't have to be repressed. Don't let anyone. So, it's only a matter of time until she's not with it. And it's just not really cool.
Just not cool. I mean, of course, it begs, the thoughts about, how this is passed down generationally. And it's, just part of the whole patriarchal society and how our women need to be pure and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, outside of the more deep conversation around this, it's just why? Just stop it. Just don't even.
It's just unnecessary.
It's just so unnecessary. Let's just be surfaceful about it. Why do you need to know that much about your child's?
I don't even mind you wanting to know. I just think it's a point of you have to, because to me that says a lot of things. One, it says you don't fully trust her, right? Because you could literally ask her and she would probably tell you no, even if she was. But that's life. There's things you don't have to know to that. The most important thing is one, if you even decide that you're going to get into this, it should really be your decision. You should really know what you're doing. Of course, we can say okay, at 18, do you really know, blah, blah, blah. But as much as you can know, you should know. And you should practice safe sex. And you shouldn't be wild. Don't be thudding. Don't be doing the most.
I guess, yeah, you're right to check me on that. Like, it's not about wanting to know. I guess it's about like how
you go about knowing.
You go about knowing and how intimate that is.
It's kind of like
the relationship between a young woman and her gyno is something that's kind of just supposed to be very personal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just especially your dad doesn't need to really infiltrate that. It's just ugh.
It's like you have a relationship with someone, you ask them a question about something like you want to know. It might be nothing wrong with you wanting to know. But then if you take it to a different level of like, oh, I'm gonna like track you, I'm gonna follow you, I'm gonna look in your phone and put something in there. So like, okay, like you could have just asked. Like and if they said no and you didn't believe them, you have a different problem. Like you don't need to go that route to be like, oh no, I just want to know. Like, yeah, okay, but don't do it that way.
Yeah.
That's what I think about it. So
I agree.
Hopefully people stop doing that. I heard a lot of people say like it's practiced around the world under different circumstances and it's just something to eradicate. I don't know that it's fair to put it 1-to-1 with that, but I do think that the general idea of it is archaic. For sure.
And I mean, you could tell that the two women that were interviewing him were so uncomfortable, but they laughed it off. You know what I mean? I wouldn't even say you could tell they were uncomfortable. I would say after the fact, especially given their statement, they reacted in a way that they maybe shouldn't have, and they realize it. So with that knowledge, I'm like, you could tell that they were kind of just doing that whole nervous giggle, like this is like a powerful
I don't
guy,
think
celebrity.
that honestly. I think sometimes you hear stuff and you don't. In a moment, it might not hit you as like, oh, that's wild. Like it might just be like, ha, that's crazy. But like you don't you don't always take it. No, seriously.
Well, this particular instance, if me and you were having a podcast episode about this type of thing, and you told me, yeah, I mean, I'd be going with blank, my child, obviously, to her gyno appointment and like, you know, making sure her hymen is intact. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna laugh at that.
I understand what you're saying,
and I think they knew I think it's because of who was saying it.
I'm not gonna like we can't argue that because we don't know, right? We don't really know what they're feeling, but I just think that it's I think it's a little bit unfair to go back and be like, oh, like they weren't comfortable, they just like they laughed.
No, I'm saying I have that context after the fact because of the statement they released.
My point to you is after the fact. Like everything to me stops at after the fact. It doesn't matter honestly, but it goes to after the fact. Like, oh yeah, like looking back at it, like, oh yeah, well yeah, duh. Like when everyone in the world is telling you like that's crazy. It's not that hard to be like, to jump to the conclusion like, oh yeah, that was crazy. Like, that's my point to you is that you're
basically saying you don't believe them. Because if I were to believe them, I think that they thought, maybe this is weird, but I'm laughing because it's an uncomfortable situation and I really don't know how else to
me, I think that one, I don't want to say I don't believe them because that's kind of strong, but one, it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, right? And secondly, I don't know that they would have come to that conclusion if there was not outrage. That's why I'm like, I don't know that I'm going to go with you. After the fact, it's easy. But if no one said anything...
But that's my point. Listen, someone will say something in this particular situation.
Like, not even let's say someone... Like, what if there were a really small podcast and it was only like 10 people that heard it? Are they going to now take that podcast? Like, that's my point.
Did you hear what I said? I said it's because it's T.I. I'm saying, like, on our little small podcast, my reactions to you are, I feel like, can be a little bit more authentic, especially because of the type of relationship we have. I think part of the dynamic there was that it's T.I. sharing this with them, and they do know that their platform is a little larger. It's kind of like Billy Bush and fucking Donald Trump. Like, if you came up to me and talk about I grab women by the pussy, my reaction to you is very different than a powerful man that I might be a little bit scared of. I'm just saying
I understand what you're saying. I guess... To not go in a circle, I just don't know how you could ever determine that. And so to me, I'm like, let's not even determine that and let's just leave it alone. Like, let's not even go back and be like, oh, they were like, nah, like, it doesn't change anything to me. If they weren't uncomfortable, I don't judge them negatively.
Okay.
So to me, it's like, I don't give them credit for like, oh, you were uncomfortable. Like, it doesn't matter. Even if you were comfortable in that situation, after the fact, you realize the mistake, it's cool. Like, it's normal. Like, in the midst of conversation, you miss so many things. Mad times I listen to this podcast, I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize you said that. I didn't respond to that. Oh, why didn't I say, like,
no, and I get it. My point in bringing it up is definitely not to have this long form conversation about what the reaction might have been or not been, or what their thoughts might have been or not been. That was not my point in bringing it up. It was really supposed to be in passing. But anyway, just continue.
I don't like people who go after the fact. That's all. Another thing that kind of happened, major news this week. Unfortunately, there was a young lady by the name of Alexis Crawford. I want to say she was going to Clark University, but I might be wrong. She was going to school in Georgia, and she was recently killed. So first of all, rest in peace. Prayers and thoughts to her family. they're really, really devastated. She's like 21. I think she's a senior. Like she's about to graduate. Like it was just very sad. She had, before her death, or before she was missing, she had gone to the police and filed a report of unwanted touching and kissing from her roommate's boyfriend, which is very, very weird. And then literally a couple days after that, she goes missing. Her roommate calls the police and files a missing person report. And yeah, basically said she was missing. And then eventually they found her. They've arrested the roommate and the boyfriend. They're both going to be charged. I don't know with what. It might be out there, but I don't know, so I can't say. But they've been charged, or they're going to be charged. And they said they found the body through one of them. Like one of them led them to the body. Her body was like in a park close by.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are very mad at that. I actually didn't even know about it. I was just on Twitter yesterday, and I saw people were like going on the roommate's page and like just, you know, saying the worst things, and people were like, oh, she's in jail, she can't see this. So yeah, there's not really much more to say about it other than to say that it happened. It's a sad story, and you know, I'm sure we'll find out more information because it's literally the craziest thing. Like even if you look at it's so crazy. It just made me realize that killers don't look a certain way,
for sure, which
is obvious, but I think every single time it hits you differently because she is on Twitter. She is like 21. Like she's literally on Twitter. It's like she's the most regular looking person. Like she's just a regular girl that goes to college. Is like, you know. And I was like, wow, this person could kill someone, or this person could be like, you would never.
Accomplice, whatever she is.
Yeah. So sad story all around.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of it. I don't have really much else to say. Then it's super sad, unfortunately.
Yeah, just be careful out there, and you know, I really feel bad just for the fact that like, she literally went to the I can't even say like what could she have done.
Yeah,
she went to the police to report a situation, and then within a number of days, like. Even if the police were investigating, like they're not going to investigate and finish in a day. Yeah. Like everything takes time, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out quickly enough. Not better news, but maybe better news if you're political. Faye's going to let us know what's going on in the realm of politics. It's going to make it really quick because not everybody wants to hear it. But she'll tell us what's going on, what you should know, because people don't know.
I'll make it super quick. Yeah, I mean, we're in the midst of an impeachment hearing. The impeachment process and all of that right now. It's pretty historic. I feel like people really don't realize how historic it is. We're pretty much on the level of what like happened with the whole Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky scandal of yesteryear. So it's super intense right now. We're kind of edging out of like the more private side of things and going into the public hearings moving forward.
The Republicans forced that though, no?
Kind of, sort of. Yeah, definitely. The Republicans wanted things to be out in the open. I actually don't understand why, because I don't think it's really going to benefit them. If anything, it's just making it more clear to the general public what is going on in real time. I think as far as like the private things, the most damning stuff is definitely related to this guy named Sunland. He was like the ambassador to the EU. He was just a large donor to Donald Trump, and then got this kind of, you know, glossy appointment as a result. And Sunland had the direct relationship with Donald Trump that is the most paramount in this whole scheme, because a lot of the other testimonies, although they're coming from very good sources and very reputable professionals in the State Department, Sunland is the one that had that direct relationship with Donald when it came to this pre-quo thing that we've all been discussing, you know? Like, Sunland basically carried out what Donald Trump wanted. And although he had an original testimony where he's like, I don't really know what was happening, blah, 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 he then came out with an amendment this past week to that testimony saying, you know what, although Donald Trump said it wasn't a pre-quo, if I'm being honest, I knew what was happening and I carried it out. Obviously, there's a credibility issue there because it's like you're going back and forth. And of course, the Republicans are going to poke holes in that. So we need some other strong testimonies, hopefully, to come down the pipeline to kind of buffer what Sunland said. But either way, it's pretty crazy. And we'll see what happens. But
let me just ask you the question for the people like me. They're like, okay. Words, drama, a lot of it, day to day. Is he going to be impeached?
That's where I was going next. For me, I think we're going to be at a point where he gets impeached in the House, but he doesn't necessarily get booted out of office, much like Bill Clinton.
So for people that maybe are not completely political savvy or don't know, like me and other people, don't worry, we're together. We don't know. that means that nothing is going to happen.
I mean,
Can
you could say that? Yeah, sure. I wouldn't.
I don't say nothing, but if he's so if he's impeached by the House but not the Senate or vice versa, whatever it is, then he's not fully impeached. So
I wouldn't push back on that because, like I said, the only other context we have for this is Bill Clinton, where he was impeached by the House, but then business carried on as usual. The only difference here is that Bill was in his second term already, so he kind of just finished out his 8 years. Okay. Whereas this is a lot more pivotal for Donald Trump. If he was to be impeached before, which is what the Democrats are hoping to do, if he was to be impeached by the House before he ran for his second term, obviously that's going to be a huge X on his
so it's on his resume. I don't ask too many questions, but it's also a little bit fair, it's a lot fair to say that the impeachment, the whole process is not so much about impeaching him, because maybe that's not really going to happen if we're being realistic, but it's about making sure he doesn't win again.
You can put it that way if you want to be more cynical about it. Or the other way of putting it is that these people have a responsibility to their constituents.
No, I don't like that way.
Sure, but I'll just go ahead and say that for like the other side of things. Right. They have a responsibility to the constituents and to the Constitution, and to make sure that people are held accountable for shady ass shit like Donald Trump has been doing. So that's what's happening. They're holding him accountable. And who knows, if more damning things come out, much like the Sunland testimony, there's a chance. Like, there might be like either a situation like Nixon where he resigns because he doesn't want to, be fully impeached and he's too egotistical to let it happen, or he does get fully impeached.
Okay. Interesting. Thanks for the update. Yeah, no, we have to move on because Faye started clapping and
yeah,
some of us live in America. I don't know where Faye lives.
Okay, we move on.
Bam. Back.
All right. We're back with words from our sponsors.
Hey.
If only. In the future.
You can be a sponsor. Hit us up.
Yeah, exactly. If you want us to sponsor you, we got you. But anyway,
no, the other way around. We don't want to sponsor them.
Excuse me. Yeah.
We're no sponsor. Don't get happy.
But honestly, on a more serious note, our main topic for today is kind of deep, I would say. And it all spawned from like a news article that both you and Miriam kind of came across through the week. Why don't you give us a backstory?
Yes. So, not even a news article, but I listened to the podcast, I want to say BBC Africa or something like that. It's a really good podcast. They do it daily.
You can tell me about that. We share podcasts.
I changed up a little bit. So that's like, it's actually really good. You should listen to it. Like,
really, Dolapo?
I don't like it in the sense that it's not like,
from me.
I wish it was more like the daily, where like the daily is like really more focused on like one thing. They do like the regular, like it's almost like just news.
Okay.
But it's really interesting because they go like literally everywhere in Africa. Like it's not big, like it's not like Nigeria or one place. So you literally hear everything, and like it's not just like big news, like it's smaller news. So it's like, it's really good. It's actually really good.
It reminds me of like when I'm in Nigeria watching CNN versus here.
Exactly.
Like,
that's really what it is.
There. Okay.
Yeah, it's like BBC. Like literally that's what BBC does. I feel like they do really well.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, they recently talked about, there was I guess it's not a church, a Christian rehab center in Lagos that was busted for having people basically, if you're unfamiliar, the rehab centers all over Nigeria really, where they have people with mental health issues, and they basically, families leave them their loved ones, their kids, their
and a lot of them are religiously based. Like, most not of only them, in Christianity but also Islam.
Actually, I think most of the ones they've been finding, at least based on the podcast, don't quote me, have been Islamic ones. Because in the podcast they like specifically know, like, oh, they found a Christian one, like almost like they don't find them. And it was like in Lagos, which I think was also like, usually a lot of them have been like in Ibadan or like in the north. Right. So I think probably wherever you're looking is probably the issue. Like, I don't think it's stuck to one religion. It's probably just, what are you looking for? But yeah, the article I was able to find just came out like 5 days ago. Apparently Nigerian police freed 259 people from an Islamic institution in Ibadan. And again, this is just one of many. Like I told you, the first one I heard was the one in Lagos. It was like maybe 100 and something. Right. It wasn't that many. This one is 259, and it's been happening for a while. They had a number in here that I want to quote. They said that this one, the Ibadan one, takes it from, since 2015, they have rescued nearly 1,500 people from abusive institutions. So that's like 1,500, 4 years, 750, 300 a year, let's just say.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty significant amount of people. And that's the ones that they're finding, right? Like, we know that it's probably way more. So yeah, I just thought it was a good thing to talk about because we know how important religion is to us as Africans, even not just Nigerians. But you know what's
not taken with as much, or dealt with, I guess, with as much importance? Mental health, I would say. I feel like right now we're in this like renaissance period when it comes to mental health in the Western hemisphere and this side of things. But on the other side of the ocean, not so much. I feel like we're still very much rooted in the past. I don't think mental health is dealt with as a health issue as much as it should. It's definitely dealt with as a spiritual issue in a lot of cases, which is why it ends up being connected to these religious institutions. I think the scary part of it is the idea of people just being abandoned and not equipped with the right ways of kind of getting out of this health crisis. It's like almost like somebody who has malaria, just like leaving them with no medicine and nothing to deal with it and just expecting you to pray over it and it to just, miraculously be eradicated. Mental health is the same. Like it doesn't work that way. Yeah. You kind of have to, put some tools in place and in motion in order to help these people.
I agree with that.
So that's so scary. And I know off mic we were talking about how with these families and people who are dropping their, children or loved ones off at these institutions, I don't think that they know what they're really doing. No. They don't realize the harm that they're putting their children into.
Yeah, a lot of places, at least the one I just looked at the article again, I don't know all of them, but a lot of places, like, they don't feed them enough. Like, they eat, like, once a day. Some places are chained down so they can't escape. And so literally, like, they're enslaved. Yeah. So it's not even something like, I mean, of course, we know, like, oh, they have mental health issues, but have they been diagnosed? Right. How are they, like, we don't know what these issues are. A lot of, to me, I think the biggest problem is that there is no diagnosis on a lot of these. Right. So a lot of mental issues are just clumped as one. Right. Depression and schizophrenia is way different. You can't treat them the same. Yeah. But if you just say, like, this person is crazy, man, like, just go. And like, some stuff, like, we know schizophrenia is, like, literally one of the worst because medication helps, but it's, like, just bad. Yeah. But there's so many different illnesses that can be handled and managed very well with medication. But if you don't even diagnose it in the first place, how are you even going to know what to do? So I think that's like a big thing, like you said, like we need the tools. Yeah. But I also think a big part of it is not just the tools, but mentally. I think people, not mentally, I don't want to get the mentally confused, but I think people don't have the psyche of like, this is a real issue, right? Yeah. I was talking to someone last week and they were telling me how they basically got into a conversation with someone and the person asked them like, oh, like, what do you think about depression? And the person was like, depression. Basically, the person, to summarize, was like, depression is a little bit made up. Yeah. And has the reasoning of the person. That all the time. The reason of the person, as a Nigerian, was like, in Nigeria, there's like, people don't have depression. You don't have time to be depressed and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And it was funny because I was like, yeah, I can see why you would think that. But then I can also see how, like, there's mad depressed people in Nigeria, but, like, they're not diagnosed as depressed.
I mean, I guess I don't like putting it this way per se, but I feel like the East definitely follows whatever the West does, but they're always way behind to a certain degree or years and years behind. Okay. So I'm not surprised that they have certain, ideas about what mental health is and what that looks like, because that's how it was here for the longest time. Like, the conversation about mental health is just now changing. Like, baby boomers will say, we had no time to be depressed. We were trying to fucking make money. We were in the Great Depression. The world was depressed. Like, we can't now say we're personally depressed. You know what I mean? So, like, I can't fully fault them because it's just an ideology that was, rooted in something that's beyond them. Like, they've grown up thinking like that. But especially when it comes to depression, I feel like it's because outside of how different mental health issues look different, whether it's depression to schizophrenia, within depression itself even, it can look different. You know what I mean? Sometimes depression, it can be very much situational, and sometimes it could be very clinical, whatever. There's definitely a varied array of it. And I feel like people just can't wrap their head around the idea of, like, there's something beyond sad. Like, because everybody understands sad and they're like, I've been sad. Yeah. But they can't, because they haven't actually dealt with it personally, they can't really picture it. Whereas with something like schizophrenia, it's like, although I haven't dealt with it personally, there's more like tangible, or I don't want to say tangible, just more...
It's more recognizable as not being normal.
Yeah, there's more recognizable like effects of it. And,
yes.
you know, abnormality to it.
Yeah.
So
it's like bipolar. Like you can see it sometimes. Like it's a little more obvious. Like, oh, there's something off. Whereas depression, you're like, oh, you're just sad. Like, get over it.
Exactly. Especially because for a lot of people, depression can come in like spurts. So it's like, well, this person was fine maybe like a year ago. They're just going through a rough time. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I guess I say all that to say, like, I don't completely fault, or I'm not completely unaware of where these things are coming from. I just hope people can be more open-minded, if you will, to the idea that, okay, mental health comes in so many different shapes and sizes, and we need to address it. Like, it's such an epidemic, and we're all suffering in some way or another. And some on a more drastic end than others. But with that, with being more aware, you also maybe are more aware of how to deal with it, and you're not maybe abandoning your children or your loved ones in institutions like the one you mentioned.
Yeah, no, I think that unfortunately, mental health, I think, is a field that's still rapidly developing, and there's still so much that's being found out. And, you know, it's tough because I look at it and I'm like, yo, being on medication is really bad because first of all, you have to try so many different medications to find one that works. And then sometimes they have negative effects. Such
bad side effects.
Because a lot of times people don't like using them because of the effect. They don't like the effects. They feel like the effects, they drain me. They do this, like whatever it is. But sometimes it's just better than alternative. Right. And I think at this point, we don't have a better solution yet. So we have to use the solution we have, right? And if that's the solution we have at the moment as medication, if you are one of those people, like, it's just something that we have to, as a world, just accept for the moment and keep working to find better solutions.
And to be honest, like, great. Like, I'm happy that these people were released, but I'm the cynical person that is thinking, like, where are these people released to? It's not enough to release these people. It's to understand that these people did have an issue in the first place. In a lot of cases, there's a reason why these people were abandoned or placed here. Yeah. And so we need to deal with it. I wouldn't be so quick to be excited about release if they're just getting released back to the family members that didn't know how to handle it, you know, to begin with. Yeah. I just think we need to be maybe more concerned about fixing the issue itself, like figuring out what the root of the issue is and fixing that, as opposed to just like very surfaceful quick fixes to it. And yeah, again, I'm not saying these people shouldn't have been released from bondage. Like, definitely we don't want anybody enslaved. I just hope that they're not just finding themselves back in similar situations.
I understand what you're saying. I actually do agree with you. Like, I think that makes sense. But my perspective has changed because I read a book. I told you guys, I keep talking about this book I read because that's the last book I read by Malcolm Gladwell.
Come on, something about strangers, right?
Talking to strangers. And literally, this might be the most important chapter because that's the one that keeps coming up. Okay. But it's basically about how if you don't want something to happen, it's not just about what people want, it's also about the circumstances, right? So I can kind of apply it, or that's why I brought it up, because in my mind I was applying like, yes, that's not fixing the issue, but it is helping, because if we make it literally impossible for you to have this kind of facility, we've now taken one thing off the table. Like, of course, something worse or something else might pop up, but at least, like, let's deal with that first. Like, let's not make it something where you can have kids in the basement of a church and be like,
I agree, 100%. So, but I guess my point is, are we so sure that these facilities can't happen? I'm thinking you're eradicating it in one area or within one place and one institution, and then who knows? These people might just be going to another one further away.
No, it is, but it's also something that if you keep doing it, I mean, obviously, you have to do more than just crack down on one. But if you keep doing it, it's kind of like if people are stealing food. If no one does anything, they'll keep stealing food. If you catch them every week, they'll be like, okay, we can't steal. Like, it's more of a risk.
And then conversations like this happen too. So it's going to dissuade more people
from doing it. So some people are still going to steal food, but some people are going to be like, all right, nah, like, it's not worth it because I don't want to be caught. So getting one matters, I guess. And
yeah, like I was saying, conversations like this happen, and I know we always hear that, especially nowadays. Like, we need to have conversations about some things, but I feel like when you have like thousands of people who are getting released, it ends up having conversations or producing conversations like these that produce results. You know what I mean? Like, it will definitely end up creating like maybe like a more open-minded society, like I had mentioned, because it's like, okay, hey, like we have just like thousands of people who are suffering or who have mental health issues who have nowhere to go. Where are we going to place them? Like, of course, if it's only happening here and there and there's only like 50 people here and there, then you can definitely keep it a lot more quiet. So I do agree with you. Like it just needs to happen, and then we kind of can deal with ramifications after. But I like, the reason I brought it up though is to say, like, it's not enough to just be like, okay.
No,
like,
definitely. It's a step,
happy.
But it's not the whole. It's not the whole enchilada. We want more, and I think that it is possible to applaud a positive thing, a step, and be like, at the same time, keep doing more, and let's do more. And I think it's on everyone. And I actually do want to talk about the other side of it, because we're kind of talking a little bit about the police part of it and all that, and like the bigger picture community in terms of mental health. I think the other part of it is religion, right? And kind of going back to your point of, okay, are we releasing these people back to their parents? Are their parents actually changed, right? Because like we just said, as we just basically admitted, almost no matter what, which is not really a good thing to say, but almost no matter what, there will always be a place that will take them somewhere if they want, if they look hard enough. So to really stop it, you have to get the person that has the power to take you somewhere and drop you there. You have to get them to not think that's a good solution. And I don't know that people have reached that point. And it just made me think of a conversation I was having like last night even, or yesterday, something like that, where it wasn't related to mental health. But to me, it's very... I don't want to say similar, because I hate comparing different issues. Maybe. There's some parallels. The question was basically like, oh, if something like catastrophic... I don't want to go into the details because it's a long conversation. Okay. But basically, if something like catastrophic happened like in your marriage, and like something that would basically make you want to leave, like naturally as a person, how would you react? And somebody gave the response of like, first of all, I'm going to fight it. Like it might be, it's the devil, and I'm going to use God, and I'm going to pray and all that stuff. And it wasn't something like with health. So it's not a one-for-one parallel. But it just, the vigor and the way that she was like, that's her solution, just made me think like that kind of a person, if they did have this situation, we know that there's people like this. Like their very first step might be like, oh no, we need to pray. We need to, that's the route that's going to fix it. And then you also have this pastors, this imams, this whoever that are like, bring them, we can pray it out.
And I think for me, it's going back to what I had mentioned earlier, in the sense that mental health is very parallel to physical health and what you do to heal yourself when it comes to physical pain or physical issues. And it's like, you can pray about yourself having cancer, but to me, that doesn't mean you shouldn't explore the idea of chemotherapy or radiation or whatever other drugs are available to you.
Absolutely should.
It's like, it's totally fine if your religiosity like definitely gives you this sense of protection and just hope. And it's fine. Like completely lean into that 100%. But you can have both. I don't see why you can't do both. And it's like, you can, rely on your religious leaders to guide you through how you deal with a child with autism or depression or whatever other mental health concerns that you might have. But also consult with your doctor, just like you would if you were going through anything else, like malaria or whatever.
No, I think, but I do think that it's needed, because I think a lot of people that are super religious, there's a very high, I don't want to say percentage, but it's a high number of people that don't see it that way. As obvious as it is to us that like if you have cancer, you should go to the hospital. There are people that are diagnosed with cancer and they say, okay, cancer, I have to go through this. That's going to suck. Radiation, oh no, that's going to suck. I will just go to my pastor or my imam or whoever, and we're going to pray and it's going to go away. And it's like, no, it's not going to go away that way.
And I hate to say it, but it is, you used this term earlier, an archaic way of thinking in a lot of ways, because the more we grow as a society, the more we realize, okay, that might not work. Like, modern medicine is not your enemy as much as you might have thought it was once upon a time. So I feel like in those cases, it just is like a matter of trying to educate the person, but some people just will not meet you halfway, and it is what it is. As we grow in this society, as we learn new things, I feel like people will kind of just keep coming to the other side.
And I think that it just also goes back to like people need to dissociate so many things from each other, and it'll make life so much easier. Like one thing doesn't always have to do with the other. One thing, like like you just said, religion doesn't conflict with modern medicine. Yeah. There's literally no reason for there to be a conflict. So there's no reason for it to ever be one or the other. You can do modern medicine, go to the hospital and do your prayer in the hospital. like while you're doing all your therapies. Like pray that the surgery goes well. Or pray that the medication you're using works. As you're doing the surgery, be praying. Let them come and stand around the hospital. Like, it's fine. Like, I don't think God is going to be like, oh, you're in a hospital. Yeah. I'm not going to be there. No, I'm not meeting. Like, it doesn't stop that. But for some reason, people just like, they block it out. They believe so much, which is a good thing. But then it blocks like reason. Yeah. Like, they believe so much, like, it's almost a bad thing. Like, they think that's the only thing. Yeah. And it's like, God, to me, the way I look at it, God provided all these other things. Like, use it. Use them. Like, don't just come to me all the time. Like, I've given you all these other things. Like, you can use it. Like, it's all for me. So it's cool. Like, you're not disobeying me or something crazy like that.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. Mental health in Nigeria and Africa, I hope it gets better. Yeah. It's tough. Yeah. It's scary. I can't imagine.
As much as we're talking about this on a very like large scale, if you will, I feel like just personally speaking, I think everybody should just try and find their zen and make peace with whatever they're going through and realize that sometimes it's beyond you. Like sometimes it is a mental health concern that does need, professional advice or professional exactly. So I don't want to only think about this large scale. Mm-hmm. Look inward too. Like, don't be ashamed of anything that you might be going through on this level.
It's quite normal, and there's nothing wrong with, like you said, check-in to be like, yo, I've been feeling a little bit down. Like, I don't know what that means. You can talk to someone that's a professional, and they might not diagnose you on the spot, but they could very well tell you, like, no, it's okay, it's normal. You know what I mean? Like, of course, people have different agendas, and people always see things from their perspectives, but there's nothing wrong with being open-minded. Like, I think it's very healthy to say, like, you know what, I don't think there's anything wrong with me. Like, I think I'm just a little bit sad right now, but let me talk to someone and let me see. Because they can't make you do anything you don't want to do. Exactly. So you can always be like, nah, I don't want... Like, you can draw lines of where you think is enough. You can be, okay, like, I'll talk to you. I don't want to do medicine. Or I want to talk to you once in a while, but I don't want to talk to you every week. Like, no, I don't think... like, you can measure what you need. But to just put your hands up and be like, that would never be for me is not a good idea.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, people are going these routes and it is helping people. I think it's just, don't do it to be cool. Don't do it for any of those. Like, because people do things like just because everyone is doing it. So it's like, yeah, me too, I want to do it. But it's like, intrinsically when you might need a little more help. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No. Yeah. Everyone is going through something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, literally. Like, the word depressed, I was even going to say that earlier. I think sometimes using the word depressed, like, in place of sad is also, like, a negative.
It is sometimes,
because I literally did that, like, a couple of weeks ago. I told my friend, I was like, yeah, like, I've been depressed. And they're, like, super concerned. Yeah. And I was like, oh, no. Like, I just mean, like, I was just chilling. Like, I was just, like, not in a high energy place. Like, not... but, like, people use it interchangeably. But it also creates the confusion. Because, like, when you say, like, someone's going through depression, it's like, oh, they're sad. Like, oh, okay, like, what's the big deal?
And of course, it's a good thing that we're all being more vigilant now. But of course, then the friend who's trying to make sure you're good is, like, now hypersensitive to words like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And depression, literally, for people that don't know, has a medical definition. Mm-hmm. And it's it's a medical, chemical imbalance in your brain. In a lot of cases, So it's not like it's not a feeling, I guess is the point. Like, medical depression is not a feeling. It is
clinical depression. It's exactly. Not, I agree.
Chemical stuff. Yeah. They measure it chemically. I don't know if they actually do that though, but we'll let them slide.
Yeah, it's stuff like dopamine, serotonin, all those words that you hear in like health class, psych class, whatever. Yeah. But yeah.
So conclusion?
I say conclusion. Try your best to be open-minded. Mm-hmm. That's all.
Keep checking on your mental health.
Yeah. So it's shout out time. Mm-hmm. Our favorite. Yeah, who are we shouting out today?
We don't actually have that many people to shout out. Okay. I don't know if it's us or the world or whoever, but we're kind of slacking on people. But we can just talk about some random stuff. Okay. Oh, well, no. First of all, we're going to shout out G-Max. One of our loyal followers on Instagram. For interacting with us up and down and, keep it coming. We appreciate it. And if you guys see him, follow him. He likes followers. He's a friendly guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. Follow him. He's a cool guy. Okay. Who else I shout out one person. It's your turn now.
Putting me on the spot. We didn't talk about this one.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's not really much going on, honestly. So yeah, shout out to everyone that's working hard, getting money, hustling.
Right.
Winter time, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Cuffing season. Everyone getting cuffed out there.
Ooh, I need
doing
to go
the
and
cuffing.
find me a cuffer.
Yeah, shout out to them because it's that kind of time.
Mm-hmm.
It's that kind of time.
It
Yeah. Snuggle up and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything happening coming up?
No,
Interesting,
I'm
exciting.
actually so happy because I feel like I've been on go for like the last 4 weeks. There's been something to do every weekend. So
you didn't invite me to any of them, but you know, whatever. Be going. Every weekend, like, Faye, what'd you do? She's like, oh, I turned up, so lit. Oh, I'm tired. Go.
Does that sound like me?
I was watching Netflix. Interested.
Anyway, yeah, no. So I'm so ready for like relaxation period.
Yeah.
Our birthdays are coming up though.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah. Are we doing anything?
We're supposed to do a joint party, but I don't think we're doing a joint party.
I know.
So
Why not?
We're too lazy.
I'm like traveling like basically my birthday.
Oh, that's so true. And I'm just lazy. And
are you traveling this December?
No.
No?
I have such FOMO.
Oh my god.
I have such FOMO.
It's not too late.
You're right. You were talking about a $900.
I mean, now it's too late for that. 1,500 is what you're looking at. Like, come on, man. Join us. Everyone is coming. Yeah, guys, come. They're like, where are we coming to?
I think on that note we can end the episode.
Yes. Have a good week, guys.
Bye,
Thanks for
guys.
listening.